Good morning, Loveland. I'm Mike Meldon, and this is the Loveland Weekly Podcast, brought to you by Gina Dubell-Smith, eXp Realty, and Stone Pillar Farms. I think we could all probably agree that Loveland is a booming place. It seems to be the place to be in the tri-state. And I don't think we can necessarily pin the success on one specific feature, business, or organization. But there is one group that definitely had a hand in getting us here, and that is the Little Miami Chamber Lions. I had the pleasure of talking with my friend CeeCee Collins, the president and CEO of our chamber. Here's our conversation. Enjoy. Today is Monday, June 26th, 2023. CeeCee, thank you for talking with me today. Congratulations. I see that it is your 10th year with the chamber. Is that correct?
That is correct. I think the exact date was June 3rd, if I'm not mistaken.
That's awesome. Congrats to you.
Thank you.
So what brought you, before we get into exactly what the chamber is and what you guys are doing, what got you personally involved with the chamber in the first place?
Yeah, that's kind of a fun question because I don't think a lot of people know. It was way before I became the president of the chamber. I actually worked at the Blue Ash YMCA, and I was part-time because I was raising my 3 children, and they were interested in the YMCA of Greater Cincinnati was interested in actually putting a YMCA here in Loveland. And Loveland at the time was interested as well. Don't want to cause a big to-do or anything. This was many years ago.
I remember that. Yes.
Yeah. And I love YMCAs. It's an environment I grew up in, and I just think they do great things for a community. So I was very excited that I wouldn't have to drive to Blue Ash because I was already doing that with my kids for all of their swim lessons and gymnastics. And they had all kinds of fun little kids, preschool programs and all of that. And so at the time, again, I was working there part-time, and I walked in and I said, hey, I'd like to apply. I think it'd be fun to work here. And I was working at the front desk, and they said, hey, can you do some fundraising? Because they're a nonprofit, and they actually, their mission is to allow everybody, and regardless of race, creed, color, or economic background. Oh, nice. So I said, yeah, I was an executive in Tampa, Florida before I moved back here. So I think, that's exactly what I was doing. And so I will fast forward through this part. That became my sole job at that Blue Ash YMCA for 10 years.
Oh, wow.
So yeah. And they were very flexible because I said, they wanted me full time. And I said, I really am dedicated to wanting to stay home with the kids, but I want to work part-time. And they just totally worked around that. So little gratitude to them there, or a lot of gratitude to them for allowing me to do that and doing something that I enjoyed. So through that fundraising and all of that became kind of an element with the campaign to try to get one in Loveland. And I lived in Loveland. So they said, hey, why don't we put CeeCee, kind of at the forefront of this? And I got to know everybody at the city, the staff, everybody at the city, all of the elected officials, and the chamber at the time as well. So fast forward, I worked at Ohio Valley Voices, which is also in the Loveland area, Miami Township, Loveland area, for 5 years after my kids were a little bit older. And then there was an opportunity through the chamber, which I had stayed involved in since that campaign to bring a YMCA, which did fail, but I'd stayed involved with all the folks that I had met through the city. And the chamber position came up, and I thought, this looks like something I could do. I mean, I think I understand what they do, but I wasn't totally sure. Like a lot of people still aren't.
Right.
But, yeah. So threw my hat in the ring and had several interviews, had a very intense interview with their entire board where I had to give this huge presentation. And it was just, looking back, I think I did a great job with it. I don't know. I was very
sure
nervous.
You did. Well, you're here, right? 10 years.
I got the job. So that's right.
Exactly.
I did okay. Yeah.
Well, that's a good segue. So like you said, a lot of people have a little bit of an understanding of what the chamber is, but I think it's just a surface understanding. And I think that goes for me too. So what does the Little Miami Chamber Lions do? What is your mission?
Yeah. So what I want to start by saying is we've all heard of Chamber of Commerce before, but
Right.
we're not really sure where they fall into a community and what their role is. And so what I'm wanting to preface it with is every chamber is different because every city or municipality is different. So honestly, what I'm going to do in Loveland is going to be way different than what a Chamber of Commerce of, Los Angeles is going to do, right?
Right.
So but our mission is most of our missions is to help businesses grow and thrive. That's the short part of it,
Right.
but also to serve as an advocate for the businesses. So what that means is, honestly, when I got in, I wasn't sure. I was like, I don't know what this means. How do I help these businesses grow and thrive?
Yeah.
And what I kind of looked at was, what would I want if I were a business owner? Customers, right? Clients, customers, people to serve if I was a nonprofit. So I thought, all right, I need to let people know these businesses are here. I need to make them aware that these businesses, and we started out just the city of Loveland. And then in 2016, the board voted to expand, and we serve part of Sims Township and part of, we serve all of Sims Township, and part of Miami Township. So basically, it looks like 45140 is who we serve. And so I look at that and I'm like, all right, what kind of businesses do we have? A lot of small businesses, as you know, a lot of nonprofits, a lot of health and wellness businesses because of where we fall. So I started to think, what would get people here and make them aware of these businesses? They need to see that they're here so that they can come into them. They don't know they're here unless I get them down here. So I did it at the time. The city was like, they were kind of coming off of this, a bit of a debacle where they weren't allowing events. And then all of a sudden they were like, CeeCee, do events. And I'm like, okay. So I started to do events and more events, and then brought 4th of July. It was already there, but I expanded that and just started to really work on getting people from outside Loveland to realize what a gem we had and what a cool place this was, and how many, really neat businesses were down there. And it just kept going and going. And then the events got bigger and bigger and just kind of exploded from there. So that was kind of where my mind was. So again, when the way I defined what we should do was based on our mission: help businesses grow and thrive. How do you do that? You get them more clients. Be an advocate for the businesses. All right. If the city or somebody said, hey, we're going to start the state, whoever, we're going to start taxing you guys for some silly reason, the businesses got together and said, no, this is not okay. I'm kind of that glue that kind of comes forward and says, hey, as an entity for all the businesses, as a face for all these businesses that I represent, this is not okay. And we're going to fight you on this. If that were to happen. So,
right. And so do you do that on as the representatives of businesses in Loveland, Miami Township, and Sims? Would you do that on a city level or state level or any level that
yes,
it needed
any
to
level,
be? Oh,
any
wow.
level, to be honest with you.
Just an advocate.
A lot of times, like the U.S. Chamber will reach out and say, hey, we want as many chambers as possible to advocate for this bill or this law, because they're doing it all. I'm thinking in my head, the visuals, Washington, D.C., they're down there lobbying and fighting and all of that. So there's actually an Ohio chamber, a U.S. chamber. There's certainly a Cincinnati chamber. So it just kind of goes bigger and bigger. Claremont chamber, as you know.
Do you work a lot with these other chambers? Do you speak to them? Okay.
Yes, absolutely. We collaborate all the time.
That's interesting. That's great. And especially, I mean, you've come along in probably, I mean, I don't know if anybody could argue, the biggest 10 growth years of our town, right? I mean,
I think so.
I mean,
I don't know what happened in the old days.
I was going to say we were a booming railroad town, I guess, at one point. But I've lived here since '98, and you can say in these last 10 years, it's a different town. Can you speak to the role that you guys played in that?
Yeah, I can speak personally. And we've always had. So when I say me, I mean the board of directors who leads me. Please know that, because there's no way one person could do, the work that I think that's been done. I will say the first week I got there, like the second or third day, I thought I'm going to go for a walk and just see what's really here. I don't know. I didn't go downtown a lot, but I knew there were a couple restaurants. So I started walking around and I'm looking around and I'm like, wow, it's a really cool place. I was just telling somebody over the weekend, I just had this vision, and the vision was, we got to get people down here to see what a gem this is. And I was walking by Loveland Bike Rental. I said, that building itself has like a whole Key West vibe.
Yep.
It's got a huge patio, the big steps and everything. So I saw that. I'm looking at this really cool park across the street, and and there's this little shaved ice place, and it just was so chill, and the sun was shining, and I was like, God, people, they really need to know about this.
Right.
This is awesome. And the river's flowing, and I just saw it, and I was like, we got to get people down here. We've got something going on. And it's a shame that, maybe there are one or two restaurants. I'm certainly, Paxton's was there. Mm-hmm. I think Scott Gordon with the Works had just come in, and Tano's maybe, I don't even know if they were there.
Maybe getting started.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think certainly the catalyst were those three restaurants.
Right.
And it wasn't so scary to go down there anymore. And I joke that, again, I had small children, and I had friends that go, hey, let's meet at Nisbet Park. I'm like, I lived in Love. I don't know where that is. And they're like,
right.
Oh, it's right downtown. I'm like, okay, where's downtown? And they're like, West Loveland Street. I'm like, where's West Loveland Street? That's how little bit
and why? And why go to that park? You're exactly right. The pool wasn't there. I mean, it was nice. I would go down. I did the same type of walk you did, because I would get off of my kayaks. And the only reason I, would go down there and say, man, if there was just other reasons to get me and the family down here. You're exactly right. And sometimes you do those, the individual shot for that one restaurant. Of course, I've been to Paxton's, and you go and say, hey, let's go down to Paxton's to get a burger. Yeah. But it's not that anymore. You go downtown now because of the atmosphere, because of its thriving, its energy. I mean, I brought a guy in, a performer originally from Portland, to Loveland the other night for an event. Cool. And he's just blown away. He's like, I can't find a thing wrong with this place.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm going to be coming back a lot more. And I think that just the transformation in that amount of time is just unbelievable to me.
It is. Somebody was asking me today, and I don't want to bring up negative stuff, but hey, the traffic and the parking, is it still? The traffic is what it is. And they did the turn lane, and the city's working on that. What I don't think they anticipated was the rate of growth. And you can't, because, so look at like what Bond furniture was. And now it's 1, 2, 3, 4 different businesses. So that's not up. The city can't predict that.
Right.
So when people get angry, it's like, they didn't predict that one giant furniture store was going to be now 4 different businesses that needed parking,
This is a boom that people dream of, and you don't expect it. You don't count on it, right?
Yeah.
So you can't plan for it, like you said.
They can respond, and they are putting in that parking lot, not a parking garage anymore.
Right.
But you can't, you can't say, well, why didn't it's not a planning kind of thing. Yes, they can plan forward and say, all right, we have this lot of land, and we certainly would love to see it developed, sort of like they're doing, I forget what they're calling it. Gosh, over off Main Street back there, Chestnut Street, they're calling it Chestnut Street property. So they have land there, and they're planning that. And so they're adding the infrastructure, and they're starting that now. But what happened is not something you could plan. You can't say, hey, there's going to be 18 restaurants down here. Who knew?
And who knew everybody'd come?
Right.
That's the thing too. You don't know. And it is, it's a destination place where, and I'll tell you, there's more people that are be coming because more people are learning about it. And we are making changes. They're making changes with the crosswalk there, so that people don't, because a lot of people just drive through, automatically stop instead of like when they need to stop, and that causes traffic flow. And then they're going to make the entrance so you can actually enter that new parking lot off of 48. So changes are coming, and they have a valet. The businesses all came together to do that valet on the weekend. So
Chamber's part of that. I have to just add in.
Well, there you go. Right. Those are solutions. they're working for, you guys are working with for solutions, which just is making the city better. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's always, you don't, it's clearly better to plan than to respond. But when something good happens, then you just adjust. And that's what everybody's doing. And it's all good. I mean, it's good stuff. So.
Heck yeah. So what do you got coming up? What's coming down the pike? What are big events or what big initiatives are you working on?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I kind of talked about, every chamber is different and all of that, and you respond as things kind of come along. Well, one of the things that we saw with our membership were the health and wellness businesses, not just chiropractors, but physical therapists, eye doctors, dentists, family physicians, going on and on. They were just kind of coming in droves over the past 3 years. So when that started to happen, I started to look at the membership and say, we need to do something, as I said, to respond, to make people aware of these businesses in the area. We already had our canoe place and our bike rentals and our running store and all of that. So that was always in the back of my mind. We worked with them doing our Frogman mini triathlon, but I felt like we needed more. A dentist isn't going to get involved with triathlon necessarily. So
right.
I wanted to come up with a platform to showcase them. So we came up with, it's called Road to Health. It's July 29th. And so we use Nisbet Park, not scared of it anymore.
Right.
And it's kind of like Think Business Expo, but it's got more health and wellness vibe, tons of samples, tons of freebies. And it just gives those businesses a way to let the community know who they are, what kind of services they offer, and showcases the park as well. So we'll have, we did speakers last year, and I guess I thought it was cool, but we really didn't get a good response to people sitting down and listening to a speaker, I guess,
right,
on a Saturday morning. So the event goes July 29th, 9 to 12. And we will have some exercise classes. So the whole schedule, that'll obviously be coming out soon. We know people are focused on July 4th. So, and the city certainly is as well. So we're kind of letting that pass, but pretty much July 5th, you'll see the schedule and all the good stuff coming out.
Awesome. Anything you want to add? Anything else you want to add before we go?
No, we just hope people continue to come down. I will say this, we hear about, it gets congested, and that it's still a super fun area. I can always find parking, and no, I'm not. Yes, I know where those secret parking spaces are, but I find them in the spots that are marked well for the public. So continue to come down. It's not as congested as what people say. It's not as horrible. You might have a smidge of a wait, for a restaurant. I personally, I love all the different food. So, my husband and I all go down and be like, hey, maybe we'll go to, Paxton's. Well, if it's a super long wait, then we go to Roti. So we do have that flexibility. And I think people should always keep that in mind. There's choices.
Yeah. Also, and you can, or you can sit on a park bench and order from somewhere, takeout, which is nice.
100%. And the city has seating right in front of it's a beautiful lawn. And Jackson Street Market has tons of seating there for the public. There's Nisbet Park that has seating for the public.
Exactly.
Yeah. And Teak is coming in. So we have all those wonderful restaurants that we have now. And we've got more coming. So Teak is a restaurant. It's sushi, Asian flair for sure. And
I've been a fan of Teak forever. Yeah. When is that coming?
Yeah, everybody's been asking. So I spoke to the owner, and he said, it's not going to be before 4th of July, but it'll be after. So I'll keep pushing him for an exact date, and I'm happy to share with everybody.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for speaking with me today, and thanks for all that you and the Chamber does. In Loveland City News, the city is currently collaborating with engineers from McGill Smith Pouchon, MSP, to develop the design for the upcoming downtown parking lot. As we discussed from our conversation with CeeCee, this is something we're all probably looking forward to. While the design is still in its early steps, the city manager, Dave Kennedy, anticipates the parking lot will provide more than 150 new spaces and offer convenient vehicular access to and from State Route 48. Additionally, the initial design will incorporate a pedestrian access point from State Route 48 into the downtown district. This pedestrian access aligns with the City Council's objective of connecting our neighborhoods, including the Warren County residents, to our downtown district. As the parking lot design progresses, the city staff will present the preliminary plan at a council meeting to gather feedback from the public. Looking ahead in Loveland, Loveland U is back for 2023, and space is limited for this popular program that gives participants a behind-the-scenes look at the city. Loveland U consists of 10 class sessions held weekly September 6th through November 8th. Each weekly session is hands-on with minimal lecture time. Applicants must live or work in the city of Loveland or be a member of a civic organization based in Loveland. Enrollment will be capped at 25 participants. Enrollment applications can be completed online and are due by June 30th. The City of Loveland will hold its annual Independence Day celebration on June 4th. All activities are free, and there are a lot of them. Kids Zone from 4 to 6 p.m., lawn games from 4 to 6:30 p.m., Yankee Doodle Dog Show at 4 p.m., there's a water zone from 4 to 8 p.m., food trucks from 4 to 10 p.m., bingo 5 p.m. and 8:30 p.m. at City Hall. There's a kids bike contest at 6:15 p.m. The big parade is at 7 p.m. and there will be a concert in Nisbet Park from 8 to 10 p.m. A pie eating contest at 8:30 p.m. and what everybody's waiting for, the fireworks at 10 p.m. I hope to see you there. We have something truly special here in Loveland. Thank you for listening and have a great week.